Mitch, you picked first in the preseason poll. Do you think you have the pieces in place for a big season this year as you head into this?
Well, yes. I mean, this is the most experienced team I think I've ever coached. We have 7 seniors, 6 of which have played a significant amount of minutes, and 5 of which have started at some point in their career, although I don't think we're going to start all 5 of them. Then the junior class with Amir Bell playing significant minutes for us. I mean, we really have, in terms of pieces, everything you'd want. I would describe us as being very solid. That said, we're going to rely very heavily on the seniors. I think in this league and in college basketball, you win games with seniors. And last year we lost Hans early in the season, and then we found our identity during the Ivy League play. In particular, I think some of the games towards a little bit later in the season, we started to. It's a very confident group, and they have an understanding of. I think they started to develop an understanding of how to win games.
Is coaching this team so far in any way easier than you've had before? Has it changed what you approach?
Good question. It's easier. It's harder because there's a lot of experience, and we have a lot of guys that can play. It's fun. It's challenging. It's a very enjoyable group to be around. They like to compete. They like to play together. They like each other. If anything, I try to create some tension during practice that comes from me, because they've got the will, and they've got the experience, and now we have to just sort of have those things come together. But we're going to rely again very heavily on the senior group.
How do you kind of find the right rotations and the minutes now for all these guys when you bring somebody like Hans back into the mix?
I have a plan, and I'm not afraid to ditch the plan based on how it's going. There is a structure in place, and I think it's some of the usual suspects, right? Steve, Henry, Spencer, Amir, Hans, Pete, Miles, and Devin, which we know about, and then we've got some guys you haven't seen as much. Aaron Young has been very solid in the first few weeks of practice. He's a junior. Alec Brennan he's a big size kid, a junior. I'm not mentioning a lot of guys, but last year we played up at Columbia. We were down. Keon Rayner played the entire overtime, and we happened to go on an 11-0 run while he was in the game. He hadn't played the whole game, so we're going to rely pretty heavily on everybody's going to get their number called at some point, but those 8 I mentioned first, that's the Princeton team right there.
When you look at how well you did things last year, I mean, what have you talked about trying to emphasize doing even better? Because kind of what you can expect out of so many of these guys. Where do you see that you have to improve, and you could get a lot better? Well,
when you go back and when I went back and looked at our team from a year ago, we scored the ball very easily and well throughout the season. We played small at times, which then hurt our defense. And small ball is popular, and the way we play and the way we can shoot it, we become a very difficult team to guard. How much does that hurt us defensively? I think you find out year to year. The team's 1 year older. We haven't lost anybody. But what I've told them is just because you've got everybody back doesn't mean it's just going to be the same thing. So there's experience, but do they understand how to win every game? That's the difference between a really good team and a great team. And I think we were really good last year. When we went to the NIT, we were getting, we were ranked in the top 50 towards the end of the season, and that's where we are now. And I told them they should be excited about that, but other than the people that are in the gym right now, I don't think too many people outside of the country care too much about it. It's just, in 2 weeks we're going to find out. Everybody starts to put together a body of work, and we're no different. And who gets the rebounds? We have some guys that have done that, and we're welcoming back 8 rebounds a game with Hans. who's going to make shots when they're open. We have a lot of guys that have done that. Who's going to take care of the ball?
But the league this year probably as good as it's been since you've.
I'm sorry.
Is the league as good as it's been since you've been here? You think?
Yes. Yeah. It's I'm an optimistic person. I'm bullish in general. It's hard to be even remotely pessimistic with this group. It's a really fun group to be around because they want to be good. We're starting further ahead than we've ever started before because of the seniors.
Mitch, a couple of guys we've been tracking for a while, Spencer and Amir. What can you say about their development? What are your hopes for them individually this year?
Well, first, you mentioned a junior and a senior that are local. When I got here, it was very important to me to get New Jersey guys, and Spencer really was the beginning of us developing a New Jersey connection, which continues with the current class of freshmen. Spencer is, he doesn't pass the all-airport test. I mean, if he's right behind all you guys right now. I mean, he doesn't look the same as some of the other guys, but he's a player. He's a player all the way, and I think in terms of the way I would define it in terms of Princeton basketball, he's a Princeton basketball player. He takes care of the ball. He makes his teammates better. He can shoot. He makes good decisions. He's not a point guard, but he's a point guard on the floor. He's an extension of who I am. I think this is a huge year for Amir Bell. In college, you got to have who's going to have the ball in their hands at the end of the clock. For us, when we've been really good, T.J. Bray, Ian Hummer, Doug Davis, Dan Mavridis, those guys got you good big shots, and we're no different. And Amir has the ability to get his own, and we're going to rely very heavily on him.
Teams like Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, if they don't get to the Final Four or win a national championship, it's not a successful season. It's all the potential you guys have. Is it possible this season will end where it will be just a disappointment or not a success, almost a failure kind of thing?
If we don't make it to the Final Four? I would say that every year here, there's an expectation to win the title. And that's no different this year. We talk about it often, and the guys walk into the gym and they see 26 banners hanging, and those banners are there for a reason. That's the expectation. March is a long way away. If we're fortunate enough to be playing late into March, that would be great. Hopefully in the NCAA tournament. If not, you're playing in some sort of form of postseason. But honestly, it's just the coach's answer, right? Like we have an opportunity in 2 weeks to play a very good BYU team, and we're layering in what we think are going to be the things that make you successful in March. Rebounding, defending, taking care of the ball. We should be able to do those things. Answering your question, of course, we have very high expectations. It would be a big disappointment, but we're not going there right now. Even if we're fortunate enough to play in that final weekend in the Ivy tournament, which I hope that we are, hey, it's 2 games. We hopefully we playing our best.
Henry led the team in scoring last year, but does his role change at all now that Hans is back in the lineup? Because I thought in some regards with Hans being out, that sort of forced him to step up and take more responsibility. Yeah,
what I've learned about Henry is to not underestimate him or put him in any kind of a box. I've called him a whirling dervish before in the past. I was the knucklehead that didn't play him until his sophomore year. Comes in against Penn and has a terrific game. I always say to everybody, his heart's just a little bit bigger. So I don't know, and it's not going to answer your question, but I just know this, like, he makes big plays, and he comes up big in big games. So we're going to figure that out as we go around the season. What I've challenged Hans is the team that he's coming back to is not the team that he left. These guys went through, he saw it, he was there, but mentally you can't really figure it out until you've played. So we're welcoming a very important person back into the team, and Hans is working, and he's doing a great job of this, at assimilating himself back into this group. instead of them welcoming him back. And they all love him, so it's an easy group to be around. I mean, he's the big lovable German, right? Like, they all love being around him.
What is starting out ahead like permitted you guys to do? Like what, like having so much back and stuff.
In terms of minutes,
what's it permit you to do? Like, yeah, difference. Like, are there differences in how you've practiced and how you started out from seasons where you have less experience?
You know, I mean, the top. You know, we're gonna rely really heavily on the seniors, and then there's a couple juniors that have played significant minutes for us. And then last year, Miles and Devin played, and that's where I would go with it for now. That's where it is. We have a very competitive team after that, and there's not that much of a drop off from the first group to the last few guys on the team. Like, it's just very close. I'm trying not to overthink it. Just trying to play the guys that are doing the things that make you successful over the course of the season. I think some of the guys that are on the team might play 40 minutes in our first game. I don't know who that is yet, but hopefully with foul trouble, you know, we're fairly deep. But, you know, John Wooden said 7.5 players, you know. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out still. I haven't gotten there.
What do you think of your non-conference schedule?
Difficult, but I like it. And, I mean, I've got a screw loose playing a schedule like that. But this is the team to do it with. BYU is a really hard game. They come back here next year. St. Joe's here. On the road. Nationally, people don't know this, but you guys do. Monmouth, Bucknell, Lehigh, Lafayette. Hard games. Really hard road games. Playing Cal in a neutral site, playing Hawaii neutral site at VCU. We're going to get challenged in every single possible way, which I love. It's not the sheen's off of all that stuff for us. They like the fact that they're playing in some big games, but what I like is they've been there.
You have obviously an experienced team. If you walked into this team your first year coaching here, you think they'd have the chance to do as well as they could compared to the kind of coach you are now? How much better you've got?
Yeah. So I guess what you're asking is, you know, am I better? I think I'm a lot better. I make a lot of mistakes every year. I'm trying to grow just like I'm asking them to grow on an annual basis. You know, what I think this team has, which is similar to the team that I inherited, that I came into, is they have an understanding of how to win, and they have experience. We have more experience, but I'm going to make some mistakes this year too, but hopefully a lot less. But I'm going to rely heavily on these guys to play. And I think if I've learned anything, if I could talk to myself then, I'm not sure I'd listen, but I would say let them play.